Hi there, it's Natasha, and today we'll be creating a card using some flower dies from AliExpress. So I finally got some new flower dies, and these four that are in the picture now came as one set, and these bottom four that are a slightly different design and shape came as a second set. So I purchased these separately. I don't really have any idea what I'm doing for today's card. I saw the flowers and I wanted to use them, so I'm winging my way through this a little bit. There's also a leaf die from my previous flower set that I wanted to use because neither of these sets came with any other leaf dies. I've picked out some bright and colourful scraps of paper that I think I want to use today. As I said, I don't really have any direction for the card. I did see some black and white stripes that I'm going to try later on, and that was about as far as I got. So I want to put the stripes together and the flowers, just not sure how. So I'm starting off, I think this is the darker of the two cardstocks, the green cardstock, and I'm just going to die cut a few leaves. I don't have any idea of how many I need or how many I want. I'm just going to die cut a few and see how I go from there. All of these die cut really nicely, and I'm just going to pop them in a pile beside my workspace. Okay, so I have my die cutting done, and now this is the Simon Says Stamp Basic Stripes stamp set, and I'm going to use this to try and create some of the black and white stripes that I talked about. So I don't have a large acrylic block, so I'm just using this Dilutions one. That's the largest that I have for these stripes. I only have the Mini Misty, and it doesn't fit these stripes in it how I would want them to go, so make do. I'm lining it up on my grid background so that I can make sure that the stripe is straight, and putting one on there, and then so I've got one thicker one and one thinner one. And I don't really have any idea what I'm doing as yet. As I said, I know I just want stripes on my paper. I did have a good look through my stash to see if I had any black and white pattern papers, and it turns out I don't really have anything, so I shall create my own. I'm using some VersaFine Onyx Black ink to ink this up, and it's a nice dark crisp black ink, and I'm going to press down for a little bit because I want to make sure that I get a good impression. As I said, I'm not using the Misty, so I don't have a chance to stamp it again. So this is, I realise that the stripes aren't going to fit across there, they're too short, so going this way. I know I don't want the stripes to be all perfect, and I don't want there to be a specific pattern that I'm going to use, so I'm turning it around and going to add some this way. Then I'm going to stamp these ones, but I'm going to turn it around the other way so that the pattern is different, and stamp it down. Then after this, I'm going to remove the skinny stripe from the block and just use that thicker one to add a couple more lines, and making sure that the spacing isn't all the same. And that way, if I make it look random and not the same, then you won't be able to see my mistakes. If I tried to get it perfect and have perfect spacing, there's no doubt it wouldn't look right and it would just frustrate me. So just adding another stripe up there, and then I'm going to see if I want one more, but decide against it. I think that's enough, and clean off my stamp. I'm just going to pop my skinny one on just so I can clean it off because it's a fiddly wee stamp. Then pop them back in my packet. I see that one that is, I think it has 3 teeny tiny thin stripes to it, and I decide that actually I want to add some of those to it. And this is really bad stamping, so you shouldn't take up this, but this is just one of the acrylic blocks that I have, and the stamp hangs off either side terribly, but I know that I just want that main bit, so it stamps just fine. But it looks terrible, but that's okay. As I said, we make do. Okay, that feels better to me. I've got a little bit of variation in there, and clean off that one. You need to be a little bit careful because it's pigment ink, and so it's going to stay wet for a little minute. So I'm just putting it aside to make sure it'll dry, and I will try not to smudge it in the meantime. Put these little stamps back and pop them away for next time. Now I am going to move on to creating my flowers. And this was a little bit of trial and error, and again, I didn't know what I wanted, and I didn't really even know the colours that I wanted to use. I wasn't sure whether I was going to go with the pinks or whether I wanted to have the yellow and the oranges. I also am not quite sure how these layer up. Maybe they're all meant to go on top of each other. Then this is where I was trying to see if I liked mix and matching the two sets if they went together, and I kind of like that, and I think it could have been cool, but I wasn't 100% sold. So I have die cut some of these. I just die cut different shapes and different colors, and I don't end up using these ones that I'm die cutting now. As I said, I was just die cutting a few, and I'll put them away for another time. So I will spare you all of the die cutting, and you can see that I'm just running my final few through on the pink, and these are when they're all die cut. And I'm just getting the last one out, and I've gone with the pinks. I've got 3 different shades of pink, and I'm just seeing if I want them on the darker ones with a lighter lacy one on top, or whether I want the same colours together or different shades of pink together. Sorry that I'm slightly off screen here, I'll fix it up in a minute. I was going to have the black stripes down the bottom of my page, and then I looked at it for a minute and thought, oh, I'm going to cover it all up if I use these flowers how I want, so I ended up switching it up the other way and putting it this way so I can see more of the stripes that I've created. I'm just using a little bit of matte medium to glue the inside of that flower to, and I ended up going with the exact same shade of pink, so they're just layered on top of each other, they're the same shade. So I'm just holding each one together for a minute with my fingers because there's not too much holding them together, just a little bit of glue. I decided to go with the large flowers for this project. I didn't use any other size. I need to have a bit more of a play around and find out, how they layer up together and which ones go nicely, because I think there could be lots of other good options too. So by this stage I'm putting them on my card and having a play around with the layout. I debated whether I wanted to put in more flowers, but by this stage I was just getting over it, and so I just grabbed the glue and stuck them down and thought I'd see how it went. So put this medium pink one down, and then I want the dark pink one to be popped up on a foam dot, so stick one square behind there, and then the other pink one is just going to be laid flat again with some liquid glue. And then I lost some footage, but here is the end card. I put a little pearl in the middle of each one, and I do like it in the end. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Thanks!